Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to another YouTube video. Again, this is something that I covered over the weekend on stream. I had a lot of requests about this on stream when I was showing it to actually make a full YouTube video covering how I search for items. So here we are. How do I search for items? And we're going to go through the different types of stat filters that you can use, trade filters, and the basic sorting that you can use. All right, first, going through the basics. You have first of all, you can search for a specific item. So let's say you want a breach ring, you can search for just a breach ring. So if you specifically want a breach ring, you're looking for that breach ring, there you go, you have that. I don't always use this. It depends on the situation, but it is an option, and I'll explain more later. If I want to say limit to rings, I will go ring and filter in the ring category. This will open up some of my options because, and I'll discuss this later. With item quality, it gets a little bit more muddied, especially on rings, with those elemental DPSs and the modifier values between different item qualities. So you can either restrict, and generally for higher tier items, they're always going to be max quality. There's going to be quality on them, but you can restrict them to 0 quality. And that way, when you have that adds lightning damage to attacks of 35 on a ring, you know there's not going to be quality. It's not going to be a lower tier that's boosted up. You have that tier 9, which is the highest tier of lightning damage. But again, you're going to be filtering out a lot of the best rings because you are filtering by item quality. You are restricting item quality to 0. So generally, I don't set any item quality minimums. One thing that you will probably want to set if you are going to be using this to craft yourself better items is item level. So item level, as I mentioned in other videos, if you've also been on my Twitch, item level 82 is very important for a lot of things. So let's say with boots, this is the easiest example to give. With boots, you need item level 82 before the highest tier of movement speed to 35% can roll. So let's say you just want to buy boots bases. Boots, you can set it to normal, and then you could set item level 82. And now you search for boots, and these are all your item level 82 boots. So that you can go buy these and use essences to try and get that 35% move speed. So this is where item level can be very important. If you're going to be searching for something that is not completed, a craft that is not completed, you're not looking to buy this and immediately put it on. This is something that you will have to finish slamming yourself. It can be very important to hit those item level requirements for the desired mods. So do pay attention to this. It's not all the time that you're going to be using this. Again, like I said, if you are just looking for, let's say, a ring that you're going to put on right now, you don't necessarily have to put on the item level. If the modifiers are there, it's there. Things to now consider. So spirit can be used for scepters. This is very nice to account for corruptions as well. So let's say 180 spirit omen scepter. And I'm actually going to show. So again, instead of searching for omen scepter like this, one of the reasons this might not be as valued is because your malice skill, this is a good example, your malice skill might be a lower level. So instead of searching for omen scepter, you can search by malice and search by a minimum of 18. And you can actually then instead search by 19. And this will give you level 19 malice, and it'll guarantee to be an omen scepter because this is where it comes from. And the other thing that you could also do is instead of doing level 19 malice, if you know level 19 only rolls on eye level 84, so you could have also done, or the other option would have been to go omen scepter. So I wanted a level 19 and go item level 84. And now I will have the exact same results because it's the same stat. And again, now we have the item level 84 with 180 spirit or higher. So these are the basic filters. And one thing that I do recommend, so let's say you are playing a lightning spear, whatever. You are generally looking for evasion or energy shield, a mix of both, generally, or you might go pure, but again, I'm just going to assume you're going for a mix of both. One thing that you can do, let's say we're going for a chest piece, which is body armor. What you can do, you can set armor to a max of 0. And this way, whatever you search for, will now never show armor. Now you have all the different hybrid bases, pure evasion, pure energy shield, and you can look for those items that are better for you. So maybe you're going to look for spirit, 50, maybe 50 spirit on your chest piece. Then you're going to look for the res rolls you need. Let's say you need at least 35 fire res on this and 35 lightning res to fix your resist. You want an upgrade for your chest piece. Here you go. And then you might sort by energy shield. So this will give you your pure energy shield. Again, these are very expensive. We'll talk more about this in a sec. But here you are. And then you can sort and look for it like that. So if you didn't see what I did, I clicked the stat for energy shield. And then it gives me it sorts by the highest energy shield on the trade site with these filters. Let's say I go evasion. Now it sorts by the highest evasion. And you'll see that when I do that, so I saw the hybrid pieces first, but now I can see, now when I sort, highest evasion is obviously pure evasion. But let's say I really wanted a hybrid piece, I can go min 1, min 1. Now all of them are going to be hybrid, so when I do that same sort, ooh, look at that. Hybrid pieces. All of them are going to be hybrid, sorted by highest energy shield to lowest. Doing this. And again, there's other. You can also use this on the affixes themselves. So if I want to sort by high spirit, that was weird. High spirit, there you go. I think there was a bug with the fractured mod on the trade site for that. Did not even know that that bug existed, but here you go. Now you can sort by high spirit. This is just an example. I don't generally recommend sorting by high spirit like this. Or if you know you want hybrid, you can set a minimum of 300. Here, and then now you can sort by, okay, I want at least 300 energy shield, and I go with spirit, and sorting by high spirit. These are my options. So just some quick examples of what you can do with these basic these basic equipment filters. If you are looking for corrupted items, I highly recommend you use rune sockets. You fix your rune sockets. This can be very important for, let's say, a Grand Regalia. So probably most people know this, but if you're searching for a Grand Regalia, it has a max of 5 rune sockets when it's corrupted. So if you're looking for specifically a 5-socketed Regalia, you can sort by 5 rune sockets. Otherwise, let's say a shield, you're looking for a specific corrupt, just recommend always putting that rune socket in. One example could be a Tangle Tongue. The optimal corrupt on a Tangle Tongue is the critical damage bonus enchant. This would be the optimal corrupt. But if you do not have rune sockets, you'll probably find some. I'll just filter by 0 just to make an example. There are some on the market that will not have a rune socket, so just to be aware of that. If you are searching by something that is corrupted by default, I would highly recommend at least adding in the rune socket minimum. Requirements, level. This is very niche, but I did manage to pull up an example. So I know that when you're using a spear, like I am, like most players are, when you're using a spear, generally you're gonna have a mix of strength, a mix of dex, a mix of int for different purposes. And for example, the scepter has a very high int requirement. So my Sacred Flame has 149 int, meaning that if I want to use it, I need at least 149 intelligence. But there are a lot of players that will be using an Omen Scepter. There are many benefits to an Omen Scepter, such as more spirit, more mana, You can have more attributes on it. You can have strength and int rolls on them. You can have mana regen, presence area of effect if you're going to go deepest tower, things like that. So there are benefits to Omen Scepters. There's definitely a place for them. And this is an example. Okay, well now we have a 30% reduced attribute requirements roll on this Omen Scepter. This reduces the int requirement significantly. So instead of needing over 100, now it's at 96. And so you may say to yourself, a lot of players running these builds are going to go Subterfuge. And again, Subterfuge is very amazing. On my build guide for this build, I do have it right now. This is set up for Secumus, where I'm going for speed. So I don't use an energy shield helmet. I'm going the tailwind helmet on the black insignia. So I don't use Subterfuge right now, but generally I do use it. I do recommend it. This is an amazing node, but Subterfuge, again, the whole point is to maximize the energy shield on the helmet. And this is where you can use that filter. So again, let's say we have a reduced requirement Omen Scepter, and let's say, so now we know that we need at least 96 int. Where are we gonna more or less fall? Can we keep our build to 96 int if you don't need it for any skill gems or anything else? Okay, then 96 int is all we need for the build, and that way you can reinvest into more strength for HP, you can reinvest into more dex for accuracy. So these things are generally quite important to think about. So let's say we go back to our helmet. We're going for energy shield. So again, we're going to say 0 evasion, 0 armor, energy shield, and then we can filter by a max of 96 intelligence. And now we can filter by highest energy shield. So there are helmets for under 96 int with 556 energy shield. So right here is an example. There's another 550 plus. For 4 divs, you have a 545. This actually looks like a steal. If you have int requirements or int limitations. So this way, instead of, if you know what the Kama-san helmet normally has, it is, I believe, 139? I have it somewhere. 139, yes. So it is normally 139 int. So you see the difference is that I can shave off around 40 int, which is 40 stats to reinvest in other places. And that could be the difference of not needing a dex roll somewhere to be able to use the level 20 skill. Because 205 dex is a good chunk. So now instead of putting 8 attribute nodes into int, I can just put in 8 into dex and have less attributes on either the tree or less on the gear pieces. So again, it's a little bit niche of a purpose, of a filter, but you can utilize these requirements to say, okay, well, what can I get? Let's say you want a scepter. What's the highest spirit scepter I can get that's capped at 75? That's capped at requiring level 75, and there you go. There is actually a 197 scepter that you can get. That you can wear at level 72. So these are some examples of how to utilize level filter. I don't utilize this a lot, but it is one quick example. Miscellaneous gem sockets is very important. So let's say we're looking for a level 5 rake. I keep saying rake, and then I'm going to say corrupted no. So you want a 5-socket rake. There are 5-socket uncorrupted rakes for 2 divs. Now this is a ripoff, but we're not going to get into that right now. But you can have your 5-socket rake, and then again, just like before, we can actually sort by level and see which ones are maxed. And then again, if you want to go for your level 21s, you can go like this and sort by there. There's your level 21. So you have your 5-socket level 21 rake. This one's actually missing the quality. That's super unfortunate. And that's one example of utilizing the miscellaneous filters. One fun thing that you can do is go by mirrored and check out what funny mirrored items are out there. So you can go by any non-unique. And okay, well, there's this is how I found a really funny scepter last league. Some absolute garbage scepter. But here you are. So, again, funny. Usually I only generally use corrupted, or I only use the corrupted or gem sockets would be the two that I mostly use. Trade filters. Now this one is very important. One very convenient. You will probably be using most of these, especially these three options at the bottom: buyout price, sale type, and listed. Now, sale type, I don't recommend you generally touch. I do know that in the case of certain items that are very rare, you can use this. So you say no listed price, unless you want a Calandra's touch. Oh, there's none there anyway. What else could I show? So, dream fragments. And now you can see no set price. This is the scummy part, is that a lot of people will run bots to filter for these higher value items. Again, for example, last league when I put my dream fragments into my unique tab is public because I do sell certain uniques out of it, but I don't have a price on everything. So what would happen is I would put my dream fragments back in my unique tab, and immediately I would have bots messaging me saying, I will buy your dream fragments, and they'll give you a terrible price. And they use bots to run, and they run scripts 24/7 to look for items being listed in public tabs that are not priced. And they will try and lowball heavily. But again, if you're looking for something that's very specific, you might decide to search by either any or no listed price. And then this way you can, maybe somebody has that perfect item for you in their tab somewhere, in a public tab that you can see but not priced, and then you can try and negotiate a fair price for it. This is where you would use sale type. Otherwise, buyout price. This is important for restricting the cost of the price, or the cost of the item. So let's say I want a rake. Again, I'm going back to rake with 5 sockets, and I want to set a buyout for 100 exalts max. And this will show us the equivalent of 100 exalts. Now, the conversion is not perfect. If you know the conversion rate, I believe 16 chaos is well over 100 exalts. So this is not perfect, but it does give you an example. Usually I give myself a lot more breadth. That way other currencies can pop in as well. And I'll show you later when we do a more complex search how we can utilize this. And another one is that if you're trying to get a better idea of what the price of an item is, restricting by the listed time is very important. So let's say we have a... let's say we take this Kamasan. So we have 469 energy shield, rarity, crit chance, and fire res. And this is an example. We will say helmets, 450 energy shield, and we will list for critical hit chance, rarity, and then we can use a count for cold res, lightning res, fire res, just to see one of them. And I'll explain more of this later. And now you have examples of helmets in this bracket. This one's actually quite similar, 5 divs. But you can go by any, and this will show you offline too, and you see how our results went from 20 to 60. There are a lot of offline results. And what can end up happening later in a league, we're still within the first month, right? I believe. Yeah. What can happen late in the league is that there are so many items that are posted for cheap, and because of inflation, it's like, oh wow, it's only 2 divs, but you'll see that they'll be listed days ago or weeks ago. And what you can do is then you can go listed up to 3 days ago and see it cut down from 60 to 47. Well, there's probably a lot that were either stupidly overpriced in the case of this helmet, and that has just been listed there forever, or there were just some people that quit and never logged back in. And this is more relevant if you're finding a lot of if you're finding a lot of searches and hits that are below the cheapest online. You can use this to filter down and say, okay, who's actually been online recently? Who's been online in the last day, even? Or posted this in the last day. Again, this doesn't have to be online, but this gives you a better idea of what the actual recent listings look like. So that covers the basic filters. And now again, are showing most people are going to use stat filters. This is the first thing that you're going to be doing when you first use Tradesight. Oh, I want a breach ring. Let's say for this league, we want a breach ring with lightning damage, adds lightning damage to attacks, lightning damage percent, and maybe I need a specific res roll. I need a high fire res. Most people search by something like this. I might go 25. It's like, oh, okay. And then here's where you can start limiting. Let's say we limit by 600 Exalted, which is about 5 divs. And we make sure it's online. And here we go. So about 3 divs will get you this. 4 divs, 1 div. Again, can go through like this. And get a general sense of where things land. And this would be using the basic stat filters. Then we can start adding on knots. This is what these are stats that you don't want. This is very useful for let's say, for example, rings. Now what we can do is we can add in leech. Leech as life, leech as mana. Gain mana per enemy killed, gain life per enemy killed. You don't want fire damage percent, you don't want chaos damage percent. You don't want cold damage percent. And you can go through these and start adding in modifiers that you just don't want to see on your rings. And now you can start restricting your trade filter down. And so instead of going through and going with the stat filters that you absolutely want to see, you can now start restricting based on what you don't want on a ring. Oh, you don't want life regen per second? Life regen per second. You don't want mana regen? Mana regeneration rate. One thing that I would recommend, instead of going mana regeneration rate, you can go light radius. This will get rid of the garbage light radius plus mana regen hybrid roll on this ring. Like this. This light radius here, this light radius here. Alright, so now we filter down. And these are all the things you very much don't want to see on the ring. They are not helpful to you at all. And we filter down quite well. So now there's none of the garbage mods that are going to appear. Now we take it one step further. Now we say, okay, so all these attribute rolls, let's say you don't mind having dex, but if it's going to be a dex roll, it should be a good roll. Now you can put this in the knot and have a max of 25. So any dex roll that shows up is going to be at least 25, and you can do the same with strength, same with int. Let's say with rarity of items found, you can do the same with a 20, so it means you're in the highest tier bracket if it rolls, or it comes in double. Unfortunately, this does not split between prefix, suffix. Then you can do the same with lightning percent. So you know you want that lightning percent, but you can say a max of 20. Meaning that anything below 20, is there an example here? Here, like this one here, 9 lightning damage. This is now going to get filtered out. And it will no longer appear. But a lightning percent that is above 20 will still appear. And you can start building searches using knots. So you don't mind lightning res, but you don't want it to be under 20. And you can use this to make a search for something that is quite good for you. So all the mods are relevant to you, but to make sure that they are all higher rolls. Without fully restricting, like, oh, I need the specific mod. If you need a specific mod, you put it in your stat filter. You put it in your stat filter. Or, again, we'll talk about it later, counts or weighted sums. But this way, for anything that is not absolutely required, but not necessarily bad, you can filter out the lower rolls and make sure that only the upper rolls are shown. So this is a good way to start filtering down your search. So you see we went from over 10,000 matched to only 1,300 matched. And then you can do the same with the adds damage to attacks. Let's say you don't want it to show below 10 for these. Now we're getting a lot nicer. Life rolls up to 119 on rings now, I believe. I know they changed that this league. You can say maybe 80. Over 80 life is still good. Mana, but mana either you don't want at all, or it's gonna have to be a perfect roll for it to be valuable to you, or that you would want it on the ring at that point. Evasion rating, you can do the same. Limit to 150 and up. Then you can go accuracy rating. 400 plus. It rolls up to 450. And now we're starting to get some interesting options. And these are actually quite interesting. So now we have a very nice lightning damage roll for 2 Exalt. So this is something that you can now use to craft. You can buy some of these unrolled, unfinished rings and craft yourself. So this is one example of using the not filter to just show you stuff that is decent for you. Like, you're not looking for anything particular, it's specific, and you can work around and go through these items to look for things yourself. I think I saw something wrong. 70 evasion rating. I don't think I filtered the evasion rating properly. There we go. That's one thing to be aware of, is that sometimes there's 2 mods, 2 of the same mod, and they apply in different items. So for example, like one might be for chest pieces, the other evasion, the flat evasion rating might be for chest, and this is for rings. This mod is for rings. So again, we have 156 matched. Oh, cast speed is a good example of one that you probably don't want on a ring for a huntress. And boom, we're at 130 matched. And then you can go through the list. And again, we are still filtered by price as well. And here we have a flat lightning, decent, very good percent roll, rarity roll, high strength, all res, and good lightning res. Pretty nice ring for 4 divs. And if you're happy with this, then you go buy it. And again, we did not really touch anything besides forcing that there's a flat damage on it. And then you can scroll through and look at all your different options. So that's one example of how to utilize not filters. Now we're going to go with counts. Counts are another very basic filter. So usually I will separate this into prefixes or different groups. Let's say we are looking for, again, a ring for your huntress. You want adds physical damage, adds lightning, adds cold, adds fire. These are your flats. And then you maybe want 2. Then you're going to put your lightning percent. I'm not going to put any just so we can actually see results. Or maybe we'll still see results. Okay, we still have results. And here you can see that it's going to be a mix of 2 flats plus lightning percent. So we have lightning percent in our required. This is effectively an AND filter. So this is required to appear. And any 2 of these 4 will appear. So we have count 2. If I remove this and make it count 3, then 3 flats will appear. And there you go. How these flats appear is based on the 2 rolls added together and divided by 2. So this roll is 12 plus 23 divided by 2. So 35 divided by 2, or 17.5. Meaning that if I set this to 18, this roll will no longer appear. And that ring is gone now. Go back to 15. And that ring is back. And the same goes for Hoa. You can actually set decimal places as well for this. So this is how you can use count for flats, and then you can say count, maybe you need one attribute roll. So you do your strength, your dex, your int, and your all attributes roll. Maybe, so let's say you need at least one perfect roll on your ring. And just for the sake of it, I'm going to unrestrict our pricing now because that'll probably be too restrictive. See, our first one is 6 divs, so that would not have fit. So triple flat and at least one good attribute, and you can do a third count for your resists. Let's say you need at least 2 resists from here. Your chaos res, your fire res, your lightning res, and cold res. And you need 2. We'll set pretty lenient rolls on these. And there you go. You have 18 rings on the entire market, with the cheapest being 40 divs that meet these requirements. Triple flats. At least one... Sorry. Still 18 rings. At least one perfect attribute roll, or near perfect attribute roll. And... one of... 2 of these resist rolls. So this is another way to build a very similar filter to what we showed before with the knots. 2 ways we're going to get to very similar results depending on how we build it. This one will be more restrictive because we are saying we need to absolutely have 3 flats. But you see, now we're not seeing anything that only has 1 or 2 prefixes. It will be triple prefix because we are requiring triple prefix. So these are, again, just different ways that you can search and filter through things in a different way. So like I said, I don't bother with the item level or the item quality. These higher end crafts, they're all going to have that 40% attack modifier. And this will impact the search as well, the search results. Because this 15, this roll, remember when I said it's you take the 2 numbers, then you add them together, divide by 2? This is now 22 plus 39, divide by 2. Because these are the numbers after the quality is added. So it can make searching harder, especially on those mid-tier items where some of them will have item quality, some of them will not, because then you'll just have those lower tier mods showing in your filter when you're trying to restrict them out. So again, these are filters. So these are your basic filters, your not filter, and your count filters. Now we're going to use weighted sums. Weighted sums are very powerful, and you need to get familiar with them for sure. I always use weighted sum, just the normal one. And now we can go adds physical damage. Actually, you know what? Just to simplify my life, I will take this and I will change it to a weighted sum. And now let's say I need a minimum weight of minimum total weight of 45. Now, this means that across all the flats, we have at least 46. And remember, I said you add the 2 numbers, then you divide by 2 for each of the lines, and it will add all the lines together. So the best ring on the market has 140. You have your lightning damage, your fire damage, your cold damage. And you actually have a marker of what your weighted sum is. And you can combine weighted sums together. So let's say we have a weighted sum of, let's say we wanted to weight our flats. Let's say we wanted at least 60 on your flats. Now you can also do rarity of items found. And this will show us, you can actually, I'll go into why this, I'm not using a weighted sum for this now. But you can go your rarity of items found too. Actually, no, I will still use weighted sum here. And now you have 2 weighted sums. Now I can restrict my rarity of items found to at least 30. This means that you have to have a prefix and a suffix. And so you can see, okay, I have 38 rarity of items found and 77 total elemental DPS. And now I can sort, I can press these sums and sort. Okay, these are 50 rarity of items found. And then I can see, okay, sum of 70. These are my LE DPS. Sum of 86. 85, 84, 93. And go down. Okay, this is a 48 with a LE DPS of 60. 48 rarity, LED DPS of 60. And so you can use these weighted sums together to make some more interesting filters and to more easily see and compare items. One thing that this could be extremely valuable for is, let's go with the resist rolls. And the all attributes. Actually, that's a great example too. All attribute rolls. All attribute rolls. The all attribute itself is more valuable because it combines one of each of these than the other three. So you can actually set weighted sum, and it'll multiply. I'll just remove this to give a better example. And it will multiply the results. And we will set a minimum of 30. So here, I have a 10 all attribute roll. 10 all attribute. But it shows a sum of 30 because I put a weight of 3. That means every 1 point of all attribute is being multiplied by 3 to give me my sum of 30. And so you can use this to modify the values of items to your own build. So if you know, in this case, we were talking about how you wanted at least one of these modifiers. On your ring, well, there you go. You can have something like this, and you can sort by total attributes on your ring. And you can do the same with resist rolls as well. So instead of using this, we go with resist rolls. And you'll probably know from experience, Chaos Res is more rare. It's more rare and caps at, if I remember, on rings 27 before quality. So you might decide to go a weight of 2 on res on the Chaos and 111. And then you might say you need at least 40 res. And then you can sum. Now your Chaos res is getting multiplied by 2. And then your Fire and Cold res just get added in single. And this gives you a total sum of 160. So this is one way that you can use multipliers on your weighted sum to and you can even use this to just favor different modifiers for yourself. So let's say lightning damage to attacks, because you're lightning based, you have more lightning percent in your build, you might actually give this a 2 weighted sum. And that way when you sort by sum, anything that has that flat lightning damage is going to be more heavily favored on this weighted sum. And if we restrict it to, let's say, 600. Now this is going to be more heavily favored. And generally your highest sums are probably just going to be the higher lightning flats. So you can use this to more heavily favor specific rolls on your items. So that's your weighted sum, and using these tools together, you should be more than capable to find your perfect items for yourself, for your build. One quick note that I will show quickly would be with negative values. So let's say you have let's go back to the Omen Scepter that we were talking about before. So we're going to go by Omen Scepter just to show. And now if you search reduced attribute requirements, nothing is there, but I look at it, reduced attribute requirements. So some of the filters are unfortunately listed in positive values, so increased attribute requirements. And then you have to put a negative number. So when you do this, your min and max are still the same, but you have to think of them just flipped. So now my max is the lower number, and this is the minus 30 roll. So keep in mind this can roll minus 25 or even to minus 15, I believe. Yeah, you can get a minus 15. So this max is now, you have to use the max value to restrict, instead of the min value to restrict, which on the positive ones. So, and another example of this would be trap damage reduced. Traps deal increased damage. -12 is a perfect roll, is a perfect tier. So you see how it's -15 to -12? This is the highest tier of trap damage reduction. So that's just two examples of that use negative numbers. Another one would be controlled metamorphosis. And they use negative resist rolls. And here's one quick example of what you can do. You can click this button here, filter by item stats, and it'll put all of those stats there in an AND. So let's say, and then we can do set by -5, -3, and this will show us our perfect. This should have shown us our perfect. Oh, whoops, my bad. There we go. There we go. We see our perfect metamorphosis. With corruption, this can actually go to -3, -1, which I do have a perfect massive ringed on standard like that from last league. There you go. There's this. Putting all this together should be giving you all the tools you need to find your items at the best prices. Again, the more restrictive you're going to get with searches, and one thing that I will warn you now about jewels is that using a bunch of not filters. So let's say you don't want, let's say you're talking about emerald. You're going to see that there's a lot of junk mods. The only thing I will warn you about here is that if you use a not filters to say remove hazard damage, when a jewel is corrupted, it can roll to 5 lines. And I don't know if I have a good example here for you. Here it is. So you can roll 5 lines. And so if you use not filters for your jewels, you might end up in a situation where you filter out jewels that have an undesired modifier but still have the 4 main ones that you want. So just be careful about that. That being said, when it comes to jewels, searching by very specific lines will get you very poor results in my... So let's say critical hit chance, critical hit damage bonus. This is, again, these are very valuable mods. Magnitude of ailments you inflict. Right off the bat. This is Sapphire, so... Right off the bat, again, starting to look very expensive. So, again, you weigh the risks. Getting a good 5-line jewel is pretty uncommon, so I do think it's still worth using not filters. But again, it's just that fact that you may filter out a few good jewels that you would have otherwise not seen if you use knots. And again, we could build this search using weighted sums. So we can build this search using weighted sums. So again, these are prefixes. And there's other prefixes as well that might be valuable to you. Then you put this in here, or you even make it count. And then you can do count for your suffixes as well. And generally, this is how I would recommend setting up your jewels. You just put all the mods that you would want, and you set up count of 2, and then count of 2 for all the different mods that are valuable to you on a jewel. So, hopefully this video was useful to you. Hope you learned something. Let me know in the comments if this... Damn, this guy has 2 of these jewels? Let me know in the comments if this helped you, and hope to see you next time. Ciao for now.